Hello, beautiful community. As you know, sometimes when I want us to be calm or brief, I write a very short piece for us, which lives on Substack, but which we read here together. This is going to be extremely brief. And part of the point of it is to say a little bit about how the risk of authoritarianism works, and a little bit is just to keep us calm. So, here are my notes. The first part is epistemic disorientation. It was Hannah Arendt's view, drawing on Heidegger's critique of technological modernity, that totalitarianism mobilizes drama and terror to decenter a citizen's sense of reality. Now, of course, if you don't know, Arendt had a very intense romantic liaison with Heidegger and actually continued to overly defend him. And much of what's in the origins of totalitarianism is actually a kind of derivation of existential philosophy. When J.D. Vance claims that black is white and white is black, and Vance is an example of a kind of a raging political entrepreneur, right? Surfing the electorate for his benefit. When he says that black's white, white's black, the message is that truth holds only until it collides with power. And when it does, it must be eradicated. And actually, Garry Kasparov tweeted, I think in the last day, that he remembers an occasion he experienced 19 years ago where he was in a court case and he got told that the camera footage that was available couldn't outweigh the say-so of the uniformed officer. And on Kasparov, very briefly, a lot of you are highly exposed to his output. Think of him as a critic of authoritarianism in the West, addressing a Western audience more than a Russian opposition figure. Might is right. Once truth is eradicated, a clash of narratives remains. Power decides which narrative survives. If power has chosen against you, your narrative becomes culturally surplus. Persisting with it now constitutes cultural decay, a threat to the social order. You become the enemy. Notice how important this is in discourse that you're experiencing online, which is why it's not just that people are seeing what they want to see, but the question of the empirical facts of the matter and then reasonable interpretation that goes on top of the facts of the matter is a sort of a distant 77th, sort of rigidly and corrosively extracted out of the list of the key priorities, which are all about combative cultural discourse. You become the enemy, and this is how might is right may convert an unlawful killing into a lawful one. Decency or indecency. It's very important when we think of concepts in society that we put a special focus on the negative. Because while we want things to go as well as possible, we also must be ultimately aware of the minimal and universal evils of human life. Because avoiding them is a kind of central priority of politics. Because of their awfulness, because of their universality, and because of the fact that politics really can't achieve anything good unless it starts by making sure it is relatively free of association with the worst kinds of political evils. Indecency. A decent society is a wonderful distinction by my great colleague Avishai Margalit between a decent and a civilized society. A decent society is one in which institutions roughly don't humiliate you. A civilized society is one in which fellow citizens don't humiliate you. A decent society does not expose its citizens to lethal force without taking responsibility for it. It doesn't ask citizens to accept death without accountability. That's actually a superfluous sentence, bad writing. It does not gaslight citizens. Controversial word to use. We often debate what it means. It doesn't gaslight citizens into believing that right belongs to whoever carries a badge. And some banal points. Degradation of enforcement. In a decent society, a law enforcement agency does not react to non-compliance with the reflexes of a thug. That's actually always a very interesting experience for us Europeans when we visit the States. Now, for health reasons, I haven't been to the States since about 2018, but I have visited on a number of occasions. And one of the things that strikes me, and forget even ICE, which is on another level, but just generically talking about law enforcement, what strikes me is that on the whole, how much radical unsafety ensues or risks ensuing fast in the United States if you fail to comply. On the other hand, if you fail to comply in Finland, you're going to be all right. If you fail to comply in the UK, you're going to be less all right, but you're going to be pretty all right. So we don't have this association between non-compliance and radical unsafety that is always a challenge in the United States. But of course, it's an extreme case of it that we've just seen with this ICE incident. Imminent threat versus failure to comply, another banal point. Irresponsible agencies blur the line between firing in self-defense and firing because of failure to comply. And one way this happens is when officers place themselves in front of vehicles and treat the ensuing danger as justification. That's really all I think I wanted to do with us on this. Lots of love and talk very, very soon.